Good morning. Oh, excuse me. Good evening. And welcome to my podcast. It's Friday night. I hope everybody's doing well. And I'm here to help you all with your CPS case, your problems with CPS. It is a terrible, terrible entity that CPS has. So I've been there myself. Um, it happened to me. Actually started in 2010, but it escalated in 2015, where the my three youngest children were kidnapped, trafficking, as they say. They were put into the foster care system because they're in immediate danger. And I know all of you. I've been there. I've been in the trenches. I know what CPS is like. It's a terrible, terrible entity. I've never seen anything like it. The branch of social services is supposed to protect children from abuse and neglect and do family reunification. And when I say family reunification, studies have proven that the parents, the biological parents, are the best parents for raising the children or be with the children. So keep that in mind. Now, I'm starting a little bit earlier tonight, about 15 minutes earlier. And so it may be offsetting the time thing. I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day, once at 10 o'clock in the morning for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time, except for Sunday, I'm on at 8 o'clock in the morning. And in the evening, I'm on at 7 o'clock at night for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time. And that's where you can come in, and there's several ways you guys can interact with this podcast. One way is that you can text your comments about your CPS question. Please show your name, city, state, or country, and be complete with your CPS case. I've talked to pretty much all 50 states, and I've also talked around the world. When I say country, there's been half a dozen countries that have texted in how bad their CPS is. So far, it's been Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Ghana in South America, which is north of Brazil and east of Venezuela. Then there is Ghana, then there's Mexico, there's Mozambique in Africa on the east coast, down above South Africa, below Somalia, to the left of the Madagascar. And then there's been Denmark, and the latest one has been Liberia, and that is on the west coast, halfway up the continent of Africa. And we had a guy that's a scouter program. Scouting is really a big thing there. So I welcome any of your comments as one way to interact with it. Just be constructive with it, be professional with it. And as I say, I'd love to answer your questions, and the people in my room can do the same thing too. You do there. A second way to integrate with this podcast is to call in. And I have my office phone on, and you can call in to Bob Pace at 626-698-0990. That's my phone number, and I'll gladly take your messages. Make sure my phone is set for everything. And so it should happen there. So when you call in, you'll be put on my speakerphone. It'll be live, and it's 626-698-0990. And you can talk about your case, and we can help you, or I can help you, or answer some of your questions or concerns. Now, if you don't feel like talking, that's no problem. There's no problem at all. You can be a guest on a show at a later date to talk. All you have to do is contact our producer, our show producer. Her name is Grace, and you just email her one of my 14 shows, my morning show, afternoon show, Saturday or Sunday. That's all you have to say to her. I want to be on one of the shows there. And she will get back to you and show you how to get on as a guest. And you'll be able to talk just like me or like my host in there. So all you do is email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentdavis.com. Grace at vincentwdavis.com and email her. And she'll gladly help you on there and so forth. So those are the ways you interact with the programs. One is you can text a message. Two, you can call in and talk live. And three, you can be a guest on the show. So I want to welcome you, but I also want to tell you something about CPS. You may or may not know it. You may have heard it here. But CPS is not your friend. They're not transparent. They use deception. They lie. And they are really, really not your friend. They just, you're in a big lost world. I try to describe it. It's like Alice in Wonderland. You know, Alice was in her garden. She fell in a rabbit hole, and then she ended up in a bunch of rooms that went nowhere, and a bunch of people that said no things like off your head and stuff that makes sense. Well, that's how CPS is. It's a spider weaving a web around you, trying to bring you in because they have a business to run. It's an $80 billion business they run. And they collect over $20,000 per child per month, and that's in Orange County. LA County is cheaper, $15,000 a month. Around the country, I don't know. It all varies. I've heard a different size amount of money there. But they're strictly in there for the money. And they want to take your kids right away. They don't even, if they're not in immediate danger, they'll still take them. I don't know what their rationale is. But they're really bad. In fact, some social workers in 2022 decided to make pink shirts. I call them the pink ladies. And on the front of the shirt, it said professional child kidnappers. On the back, it said, do you know where your children are at? And so, that being said, you can imagine them, and they also paraded around in public at stores and so forth. Well, they were caught with it, and they were immediately fired, all 8 of the social workers. They had combined total of 25 years of social work. And that whole department is not left with a hole because they had no other social worker except one guy, and the director was fired. So if you need a job, I'm pretty sure Prescott Child Services and CPS would like your help there. But that is typical, speaking of social workers. Another social worker recently ran an old ad from 1848. There was this really bad ad, bad taste, everything else. In 1848, they had an ad that said black children for sale. Black children for sale. And that's wrong. That is totally wrong. I mean, that has gone more than they should have on that. And the social worker out of Chicago, Illinois ran that ad recently. And I don't know if she thought it was a funny joke or what. But that's the kind of people you're dealing with. They'll take revenge. They don't answer to anybody. They don't care about your constitutional or your civil rights. They're the bad news. They are so bad news. And you have to be careful of them. You have to be careful of them. Welcome, Nadia. I'm a little bit early. I'm sorry there, but I'm glad you found me. I'm glad you found me. You like it. Chicago. Yeah, the social worker was rerunning an old ad from 1848. That period of time of our country, we still had the issue of black slavery to deal with. And so there's an ad that said black children for sale. And that was wrong. That's wrong. So that's what I was talking about there. So there's the kind of people you're dealing with. And I've made 3 rules to help you with dealing with those kinds of people. One of them, you have to get an attorney. That's the number one thing. It's very important that you have an attorney who can navigate and knows how to fight CPS. And you're probably saying, well, I got a court order one. Well, the court order one will do nothing for you. The court order has a caseload of 30 more clients, and they're not going to help you. They're not going to help you worth beans. Uh, the social work workers, their attorneys, the social work attorney will eat the public defender up. The public defender doesn't fight, and you only see him for a short time during the hearing. He has too big of a caseload. He won't meet you ahead of time, and he won't fight for your kids. So you might as well kiss your kids goodbye. And I tried it. I tried the public defender, but I didn't know what I knew, and so it was hard. It was hard with the public defender. And even though you may fire him, there's next one come along and be just as bad. You need to get an attorney. And my attorney was Vincent W. Davis. I want to thank him for putting on this podcast. His law firm, Vincent Davis Associates, sponsors podcasts. And by the way, you can call in at 888-888-6582 and talk to my attorney, Vincent Davis. That is the reception when you call in that number. Tell them that Bob Pace sent you. And then when you talk to Mr. Davis, say that Bob Pace sent you. And he'll do a consultation for 30 minutes for $60. He'll talk to you for 30 minutes for $60. And it'll be worth every penny that you spend because he is a fighter. He knows how to fight. So he's one that you should keep in mind that if you need some legal help. I'm not a lawyer, but I do have experience. I've been fighting this since 2010, and then in 2015, they took him away. So anyway, my kids were abducted in 2015. For 5 years before that, 2010, I lost my job because through no fault of my own, that they put the contracts on hold. That I was doing some public work contracting for the state of California, but they were going bankrupt and they needed the money, so they put on hold there. So okay, I'm back. I'm trying my best. The noise you hear in the background, it's hard. I don't have the privacy that I should have. But anyway, it was tough. It was tough when you lose a job, especially at age 60. That's a tough year to lose a job at age 60. I've been working for 60 years. And no, I'm not 60 years old now. I'm 74, but I've been working for 60 years since 1964. And I've worked all my life. And so I had this thing that I did not understand how the allegations are done. Allegations are really tricky. Allegations done by two types of individuals, professionals or laymen. Professionals are lawyers or doctors, nurses, school teachers. They're required by law to report any suspected abuse or any suspected neglect. If there's a lot of bruises on the child, if the child comes with not fresh clothes, not showering, or if the child comes and falls asleep or looks malnutrition, they're going to call CPS, alert them. Now, the other kind is called a layperson. That's your family, friends, neighbors. They're the people that don't have to report it, but a lot of them do report it. trouble is, there's another kind of individual that reports it, and that individual is called the retaliation person. They want to take revenge against somebody. A spouse would do another spouse. I've had a lot of cases on here where the spouse had called in and said that the mother or the father wasn't doing their job. And so it's really hard with the allegations. Plus, any allegation is thrown to CPS, you're guilty until you're proven innocent. Every other court of law, you're innocent till you're proven guilty. You're innocent till you're proven guilty. So with that being said, you have a long road uphill. Because with mine, I guess my in-laws, and I did not know at the time, wanted our children. They have for a long time. And I always encourage our children to see their grandparents and family members and stuff. And I know my youngest daughter flew out a lot of times and stuff, but it's sad to say that I found out now that it was my in-laws that made the allegations and made our life miserable for 5 years. Then on top of that, I had to sell my home to get money to pay for the attorney. So I don't even have a home anymore. And that's a hard thing because that took me 40 years to get a home. And we had a beautiful home. Most beautiful home I've ever seen. Walk-in swimming pool, a jungle jacuzzi, meaning that was off from the pool, waterfalls, English garden on the side, tropical gardens, dog run on the other side. And we're only a couple blocks from the beach, so what more could you ask? But anyway, that's gone. That's gone. It's hard. Yeah, Nadia, I see that the kid's attorney was a moron. I'm sorry to hear that. And it was 2009 for you. And they must have had a book to make up allegations. No, people don't like to hear dog barking, so they're going to call in and say your kids are not being taken care of or left unattached or whatever it is. And the CPS are corrupt. The CPS are very, 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 very corrupt. They'll lie to you, they use deceptions, and they don't try to do family reunification. So getting an attorney is most important thing because that attorney is going to save your life and going to get your kids back. But you need to get the right kind of attorney. You need to get a good attorney. And that's a family dependency attorney. And a lot of you say, well, I don't have the money. Well, I understand that. I had to sell my home and ask you to sell your home or use your savings or whatever it is. But to find a pro bono attorney that'll do the work for free, you have to phrase your search. The internet is your gold mine for helping you with CPS. There's so much information on there you can learn. So what you want to do is you phrase it. And I'm going to use Georgia as an example. And I'm going to use two cities because one city is too small. When you have a city that's small, your resources may be limited. So you have to include a big city. So you can say, find in Athens and Atlantic, Georgia, a pro bono family dependency attorney. And you should see a bunch of names pop up. And from that list, you're going to pick 10, if you can get 10, and you're going to call them. And you're going to basically establish that they are open for business by them answering the phone. And that you need to ask them, are they pro bono? You need to also ask them, do they have attorneys that will fight CPS? And do you have attorneys that have gotten the kids back from CPS? Do you have references? Those kinds of things. And lastly, you want to ask them if they've done a civil lawsuit against CPS. And that's a real key. If there are attorneys that work for a law firm that's done civil lawsuits, then you know they're fighters. And Mr. Davis is a fighter. He has 35 years of practicing law. He's a dependency attorney. He's also a trial attorney, and he will get your kids back. So, with that being said, I want you, when you got that list of 10, you did all the calling, I want you to narrow it down to 4. And then I want you to add Mr. Davis as your 5th, and you're going to call him for consultations. So you're going to call 4 of the 10, and Mr. Davis, it makes 5. And you're going to consult and determine which attorney you're going to hire or which attorney is going to work for you. And so it's important that you do that, because once you have it, you're going to feel much more relief. And yes, he will go out of state. He does Southern California, Northern, and all the 50 states. So Mr. Davis is a fighter, and he's somebody you need to talk to. And his consultation is very inexpensive. That's 30 minutes for $60. So, and he will work with you, so forth. So with that said, if you get that attorney, then your case, you stand a chance. And I did it with Vincent. I got him and got my boys back. Unfortunately, my daughter was too well brainwashed by social workers. And when she was taken custody, she had mentioned that, well, they said that she mentioned some things which weren't true, but I didn't see her when they took her into custody. And my wife saw her for a limited time, but then they no longer let my wife see her. So what they did is they put ideas in her that you need to divorce your parents. So she went and divorced mom and dad and her brothers and the whole family members. And she changed her name. She sealed her birth certificate and is living at a foster care family. But she has moved out. There's some problems with the foster care family. I don't know what they are. But she's out on her own. And she's 21 now. She was 12 at the time that they stole her, took her from us. And it was sad what they're doing. It's really sad. So let's go to the next rule. The next rule is the notebook, the paperwork. That's the kind of be the boring subject matter. You need to keep track of the court papers and your notes and everything. You can't have them all over the place with post-it notes and stuff. And this is something I didn't do, but I recommend you do. You need to get a notebook, a 3-ring notebook, about 6 inches thick, and stuff it full of college rule notebook paper. Then you want to get some subject tabs and label them. And the first thing you want to do is called the incidents. Now, the incidents are things that happen in your CPS case, either involve the police or involve the social workers or involve whatever it did. You write down it's related to your case, then you want to be there. All you need to do is put the date and the time and who was involved, the people's names who was involved. And then you put a description, what the incident was about, and then you put a final answer with that petition. So I'm telling you that the paperwork will keep you organized, because you're going to be in there for years and you can't remember everything. That's why it's good. So having the incidents labeled there with what the incident was and the outcome of the incident, and then you skip the next one, so you have them all there. And you may be 6 months later. Now, another thing too, when you're writing the incidents, not only use what the incident is about, you also should show the outcome. The outcome may take a while, because the outcome may take a couple years. You may not have it there. So you have that part of what I'm trying to tell you to do with the notebook. So that's rule number 2. Have a good notebook. And use highlighters too to find things and everything. Oh, another subject tab could be information tab, where you have websites on the internet and phone numbers and contacts for help with your CPS case. You want to hole punch all your reports, your certificates that you get from all the parenting classes, the program classes. You want to show that. See, that notebook should be so full of everything pertaining to your CPS case. So I behoove you to um, be organized because I wasn't, and so it is really 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 good that you do that. Um, that's true. Natalie says the social workers lie uh, on what they tell the kids, say, and everything. There's no communication between your kids and you. And the social worker wants it that way. They want to alienate you, which is against the law. They want to alienate you. So that's rule number 2. Now, again, you can call in at 626-698-0990, or you can text me a message and I'll answer it. Right now, Natalie from West Hollywood, California has been saying a lot of questions and comments and stuff. It's always good to have people in this room that come again. So I appreciate you here, Natalie. Really gracious of you being in this room. Now, rule number 3 is a very serious one, and I like to talk to this a little bit because I want you to picture about answering the door. You never want to answer the door, and the reason being is you don't know who's on the other side and what will happen. Now, I'm relating a story that happened a month ago. On May 3rd, a gentleman with Roger, named Roger, who was an Air Force vet, served in the Air Force, and his place on plane was nearby. And he was at his apartment, and he was talking to his girlfriend on FaceTime. So they were doing the pictures and stuff like that. Well, what really seriously happened is that there was a report of domestic violence, and the girl that was the manager of the place showed the police officer where the place she thinks it was. But the police officer just knocked a couple of times on the door and then said his name very gruffly. And as soon as the guy opened the door, the police officer, the sheriff, point blank shot the guy 5 times. Now, I don't know where they go to school, but you would think they'd be better marksmanship so they could hit him in the foot, the arm, the leg, the hand to disable him. The idea is not to kill everybody. And I don't know if race played a part or not because we don't know what color the sheriff is. But this is a black gentleman who had graduated from high school that got a job, was going to serve our country. What better thing is that for a person to serve their country, to help us to live in the freedom so they can be overseas fighting? So that was a good man that was wasted away. So you can picture, you don't have to answer the door. It also goes good for police. You don't have to give them up your child. You don't have to have them, you don't need to talk to them. Anything you say will be held against you. So you don't want to say anything. It's simple yes, no answers. And one way to get out of a sticky situation is says, I got to go talk to my attorney before I go any further. I need legal counsel. You're entitled to do that. That is your constitutional right. And don't let anybody tell you differently. So, the door is your castle. You never wanted to let them in. So, if you're outside, you can talk to them outside. Yes, no answers. But you just need to not divulge any information because they're not going to help you. They're going to deceive you. They're going to deceive you. So when a person goes knocking at your door, don't answer it. Go hide in the closet. They can leave a card. They can call you. They can send an email if they know who you are. So you don't need to. I don't want to hear someone be killed like the airmen. I mean, that sheriff could have done a better job. He could have shot him in the foot or an arm if he had to. Yes, the airman did have a gun, but it wasn't pointing at the sheriff. It was held down. And the reason why he had his gun, he had a license, by the way, to have the gun. But he came to the door because the way the sheriff approaches the situation, instead of him investigating, listening to the walls, or looking around if there's disturbances going on, he knocked the door several times and not say anything. Then he knocked it a third time and said, "This is the sheriff. Open up." Instead of saying something maybe a little bit more that would, degrade the aggression, you can say, um, um, I'm here to report domestic violence. I got here to answer a report of domestic violence. Are you alone in there? How many people in there? If he guy says I only have one, then it's easy. All you do is tell him to unlock the door, lay down. If you have a weapon, put it off to the side, and that way you can be handcuffed to that situation. So it's important there. Now, let me catch up with Natalie. What else are you saying? You don't need to open the gate. Yeah. If you have a farm or you have a gate, don't want to open that either. All you do is put a sign that says no trespassing. You can put that in front of the gate. That way they can't open it up. No trespass means exactly what it says. It's private property. A private person, his constitutional rights is to defend his property. And if he wants to have it, do not disturb or do not enter, then he has right to do so. Because what they'll do, they'll take your child. There'll be no extreme allegation abuse taking place or neglect, but they want to take the child. And it's really sad when they do, because they take the child, and of course, once the case is over, they're going to get money every month. And I had 3 children that were getting like $120,000 a month, and they were getting like $80 each. So you definitely got to be careful of that. That's for question 2. So also, you don't want to talk to them because they will use that information you say to them against you. And don't be intimidated by a policeman as battle fatigues. I mean, what I went through was horrible. I had 5 firemen, three social workers, 1 detective, 2 uniformed policemen, and I forget who else was involved. But anyway, I had all those people tramping around the house and trying to find what was wrong. The only thing they came up with that particular day was said, well, your children are in neglect because a big box could fall on them or hurt them. I said, well, the room is fine. It's upstairs. They both are in STEM programs. And so they try to think of the right word to say it there. But they can come to the house if they have a warrant, which is a court order document signed by the judge, embossed by a seal, and your name is on there as well as the children's, the allegations, and what they plan to do. So you can go to them. Maybe the people having a banquet is right by the. Anyway, you got to make sure that you don't say much because you don't want to lose your children. They're in a bad habit of trying to take your children. Now, sometimes I can see you would have and that also goes true for the yard. If they happen to be in the yard, don't talk to them. Don't let them in the house because they will take your kids away. They right now are not afraid to deceive you. And they think by using policemen it's deception mode, but it isn't. It isn't deception mode. But I really care about what happens to you. Now part of my rule number 3 is the medical traffic. Oh, let's see, medical. God, I'm trying to think the word escapes me. But anyway, those are my 3 rules. Oh, the medical trafficking. There's another area where parents take their children down to the hospital to find out what's wrong with them, or they suddenly have a baby and they're faced with 2 kinds of scenario. It could be others. One custody battle is from I have no idea where it's. Anyway, another part of medical transferring, besides you'd bring them in to see what's wrong with your children, is if you have a baby and they want to take the baby right away. There's been stories of mothers laying there having the baby out to want to nurse it, and a social worker who's not even of the tribe there, or what you want to call these social workers, but they're evil. They are so evil. But they will take your children with medical trafficking. If you just had a child, they're going to take it, even though you taste positive for drugs. So I'm telling you all this listening out there, it's very important that you actually watch your back, because it is hard out there with these kinds of peoples. Natalie is saying something here too. I don't open gates. That was good, Natalie. That's really, really, really good. And medical trafficking, that's where you take the child that's sick at the hospital, and because you won't do what the doctor recommends, you say you want to get a second opinion, or you want to see their children's pediatrician. That could be one thing there. But it's no to social workers, yes, no answers, and don't let them take your children away. Be very careful what you read. They got to have documentation. Oh, well, I don't understand where Faye and Danielle are, but anyway, another way of trafficking medically is also they're having a childbirth, and the social workers immediately walk in and take the child before it's even, left the mother's womb. So it is sad. You're dealing with an entity that is so bad. I just it is tough. It really is tough. So. Hmm. So you got to be careful with medical trafficking. They're just going in there. Now, some things, some sidebars. Faye had come up with some ideas. If any of you have any questions about your case or need help, I'm here for you. I care about you. I care what happens to you. It's sad that you've lost your child or you're losing your child and so forth. It um, really is really hard for you. I know it is. Anyway, I don't know if you have heard of ICWA, but it's one of the things you find early on in CPS cases. It's one of the first things you should do is create a plan to have it so that your child can be protected in safe condition with that other party, and you can do all the things you want to do. But um, ICWA. Now, the Indian Child Welfare Act was passed in 1978. Its purpose is to place Indian children with Indian families because they feel, and I'm talking about the Native American Indian, the first immigrants that came over the land bridge at Alaska and settled in North America. That particular Indian is one of the poorest people in our country. In fact, I visited the Rosebud Reservation and saw how really poor it is. It's really sad and depressing. No question about that. So the Indian Welfare Child Act was passed, and you can either be registered or could be registered by one of the 547 Indian tribes that the federal government recognizes. It has to be recognized to be utilized. It has to be recognized. So when you are American Indian children or parents are, you can ask the social worker that you want to go to an Indian tribe family. You want to get the ICWA, and the social workers have to turn over the child to the Indian family. And I think it's a lot better that way. They're not in for the money, and they don't corrupt or steal or cheat or anything, and they will get your children back with you as a parent. So see if you're recognized by a tribe, a federal recognized tribe. So that would really come in important there. Because so many of the Indians from the 1875 to 1978 were being abducted so easily and never given the families an opportunity to be with their children. Now that they're, uh, they have definitely changed from the time that I remember how the social workers were. Hmm. Now I'm looking at some other things. I haven't talked about the 388 motion. You all remember what the 388 is? It's where if you have new modifications or changes to the court and you want to have a hearing with the judge, you can file in California 388. In different states, they may not say 388, but it's a motion to introduce new information or some stuff that wasn't made before. And so that way, the judge has to, within uh, 30 days, has to have the court hearing. So that's really important that you know that. Now, Natalie, do you have any questions right now? You've been writing a lot in the room. Do you have any new questions to ask me? So the 388, you have to serve all parties, including the social workers, attorneys, the children attorneys. It's got to be properly served, and you should get your attorney to serve it. And within 30 days, they will grant you the hearing, and you go before the judge and state the new information. Like, say, you completed all the programs, or you completed all the parenting classes, or something that didn't have before was introduced. So it's really important that you do that 388 motion. It's an important one there. Now, I found out lately that, you can go ahead and try to fight them, but until you have attorneys, the only way you're going to win. And you have to do everything in the case plan. It may seem harsh, it may not go good, but in a period of time, you'll gain help from them. So that's the 388. Also, you got to be careful about all the different kind of third-party entities out there. They're prey on you, and you got to make sure they're legit. One thing was intrinsic and extrinsic fraud and relief against judgments. Fay found that's quite interesting. Intrinsic and extrinsic fraud is where the statute of limitations and relief against the judgments. Okay. So hold on a second. I'm sorry. Okay. I apologize here. What is Anyway, I'm back. Today has been a bad day. It's supposed to be a beautiful day, but everything I did today was going wrong. And so, anyway, I got my car back for some of that were interested in that. That was a crazy thing today. I don't know how long I'll have it back because it seems like oh boy, let me see here. Try and find something here. Oh, the ICPC. For some of you may not know that is called the Interstate Compact on the Placement of Children. And what that means is that it's a contract among member states and the U.S. territory authorizes them to work together to ensure that children who are in place across state lines for foster care or adoption receive adequate protection and supportive service. The ICPC establishes procedures for the placement of children and fixes responsibility for agencies, individuals involved in the placement of children. So, to participate in the IPC, a state must enact into the law the provisions of the IPC. In 1975, California adopted the provision of the IPC and now found at Family Code Section 7900. So it's basically, we had some cases of mothers who had their children taken to another state because they had special needs. Our host, Danielle, has a son that got lost in the system. She was not there at the time, and she some time, and she got out, and they didn't know where their son was, but she found out that he was taking it from Georgia to Texas because he had special needs. Anyway, he had grown up. He turned 18 and he wants to come home. And Danielle wants to do a adoption, a custody of him and take care of him because he needs special needs. He's a little over 18, but anyway, he wants to come home. So that's what the ICPC, you probably hear us talk a little bit about it and everything, but it is something that is really important. I have about 8 minutes left. Is there anything else that people would like to talk about? Anything that they have a question on or anything they need some help on for the remainder of the minutes? I've talked about our rules. You know, you have to hire an attorney and you have to keep good paperwork and you don't let them into your home. Let me see here. United States Air Force. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, let me see here. Oh God. I'm sorry, audience. I'm sorry. I apologize from people that are so immature. Wow. Oh. You know, I'd like to share some stories. Is CPS too much power? Is CPS out of control? What can be done to stop their abuse of power and still be able to protect their children from abuse? Well, we know that CPS is out of control. Example, Emma Watson said, they took my daughter before she was barely 1 year old because of my mental illness. Then nothing on me except me being angry, yet a foster mom got angry, and that was fine. But I got angry, and I hate CPS work for the only good job there is they abuse the system is what she's saying. Ruby Mason says, I was a student teaching in a small town in the Midwest. My boyfriend was probably the only black guy in town. He's one of those towns where a wedding ring would have helped you too. And joining a softball league. I got a call from a CPS worker looking to meet. I picked up my kid and tidied up and invite her over. Well, that was a mistake. The CPS worker was cool. However, a kid recognized her. It's very creepy when a stranger with a badge can interview your child at school without your consent. That's wrong. That's wrong. You know, when you sign a parent release at school the first week of school, you say who can see your kids. And that was wrong. I mean, it seems like all the negativities that they're out of control. And it's all because of awards for bonuses and money. My social worker, it was terrible. My social worker was not trained, and she did not have any classes in social work. And she had no college degrees. And her only interest was the bonuses because she got her nice jewelry, her makeup, her eyelashes, her BMW car, and so forth. And it was all because she wanted to keep her children. And that's sad because it all turned to madness. And the other sad part is when a social worker got on the stand, she lied underneath oath. And we caught her with her lie because my wife's sister was trying to adopt one of her children. And we didn't want that to happen because we want our children. They're our children. We created them. We love them. We provide for them and everything. But she wanted to do it. And there was a question asked about domestic violence. And we knew that the police report showed there was domestic violence with her and her husband. So The social worker says, oh, there's no report of domestic violence and blah, blah, blah. She lied underneath oath, and we could do a civil lawsuit, but it takes money to do that lawsuit. It may cost, $50,000 to do a civil lawsuit, and you don't know how much money you're going to get back. Maybe you get back millions of dollars, but it's really, 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 really hard. So she lied, and she forced our daughter to get her name changed, seal up her birth certificate like she didn't exist or was born by us, and then adopted by a foster care. And see, I said she changed her name, and divorce. She had to divorce her parents, her brothers, and like that. And that's all sad. That is really sad. That's uncalled for. It really is. So I am hurting even today. She's 21 now, and she's still not in her life. I know she's out there. I know she's out there. So it is a struggle out there, but what you want to do is not to give up. You never want to give up on your kids. You love them. I love them. I love you guys. And I want to help you so much. Um, uh, it is a tough reality when you're faced with the fact that they can get away and break laws and take your kids. It's wrong. It's so, 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 so wrong. And so, Natalie says, how can my son visit my daughters? That is the sad part. Well, if they're 21, like my two sons are 18 and 24, my daughter's 21, they see each other. I encourage it. Even though they're divorced, my daughter is divorced from her brothers, they still see each other because I encourage it. And I try to help them out there. So, I don't know how old your son is. I don't know how old your daughter's is, Natalie. But if they're under the age of 18 and CPS is still involved, they won't be able to see each other because they're corrupt. It's a corrupt, terrible agency. And it's really, really sad. Well, I'm getting close to the end of my show here. I want to thank you all for listening and taking the time. I want you to, do a lot more texting in or calling in, and I'd love to help you out there because you don't want to give up fighting for your kids. You parents are the best things for them. The biological parents are the best thing for the kids. So I want to thank Natalie for your comments and talking about things and helping out and what you do. You're a beautiful person, and I appreciate you. I want to, thank to all our other listeners, the emojis, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So let me have your comments, and so forth. And don't forget, you're not alone. I'm here twice a day. So I'll be here again tomorrow at 10 o'clock on Saturday, 10 o'clock Saturday morning. So God bless you all. And this is Bob Pace signing off until the morning at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.